Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Backstage Bimbo TV. It's me again, Allison Rouse, your most notorious groupie and author of We've Got Tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie, me. New covers coming soon, and link to the book is down in the description. So you guys check it out. I'm going to be uploading the new covers this week. Been working on them for a while. And thank you again, as always, for all the love and support and all the wonderful people I am meeting through this channel. And the way you guys are is true to the old rock family. We all have each other's backs, so thank you guys so much. It truly means the world to me. And one of the topics that keeps coming up in conversation, and not disrespectfully or anything like that, just kind of, a topic of conversation that we're having, is the age of groupies and rock stars, especially in my time and my generation or before. Because my generation was probably the last generation, and I know for a fact it was, because we'll talk about this in a minute, that could get away with a little bit more and fake IDs and stuff than today's generation can. So we're going to talk about the age, and we are also going to talk about the antics of the 80s. Because again, this is another topic of conversation that comes up, kind of degrading the guys for their antics. And you shouldn't do that. And you shouldn't degrade them for being with underage groupies. Mind you, underage of 18, but of the legal age of consent. And this topic is touchy. There was no sinister acts involved. But we'll get talking about that, okay, guys? And today I'm going to have a little local, our Talisman Brewery, Utter Chaos, really great milk stout. So everybody, grab your udders, kick up your feet, and let's have a rocky talkie, shall we? Cheers, big ears. Delicious, except for the hair in my mouth. Everybody, you should support your locals. If you see any of my locals hanging around your grocery stores or liquor stores, go get them. Always great to support locals and smaller breweries. So anyway, the conversation of age keeps coming up in different conversations, and like I said, not disrespectfully, so this is not like a tirade or disrespect. It's just a subject that I barely touched on the Blitz with Overkill vlog, and I feel I just need to really touch on it again, because there is such a one-track mind to blaming the rockers, when quite honestly, in my generation, those rockers were never to blame, and I will defend that with my dying breath. I will take that to the grave 100%. Because in the 80s, it was a lot easier to get away with things. We were more innocent, relaxed, laid back generation, and also technology hadn't sprung up to what it is now. So we could go to the DMV with a birth certificate that, let's say, I said my age was 22, and get an ID that was a legal ID with your picture and everything on. Not these Hawaii or stuff. I used to work in the liquor business. These new fake IDs are so bad. Even with our fake IDs back in the day were real IDs, because we could actually go to the DMV. So this is what I'm starting off with, because those rockers, nobody once R. Kelly'd us, went looking for underage girls to manipulate, to violate, to do anything, because there are people that did that. Gary Glitter, R. Kelly, Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin, and all knew the ages of the people, the children or people involved. So those people, they definitely deserve the smackdown on that. However, I was born August 29th of 1970. So you guys can figure out my ages, because I will never name or put any blame or jeopardy to the rockers that I've been with under that age, because I know it can upset your fans. But don't be upset, because you guys, the rockers that I knew before I turned 18, absolutely 100% had no idea, because I had a fake ID. They had no idea that we were not quite 18 yet, me and my friends. We all would just go to the hotel bar, sit down, order a drink. The bartender had seen our fake IDs so many times, he just didn't bother IDing us anymore. But the fact is, these guys just did what they normally do and still normally do on a night off or after the show is wandered into the hotel bar. So they see women sitting at the bar with drinks in their hands. They figure the bartender already did the job that they needed to. However, we would get ID'd and we would show our fake IDs. When I was with Eric Carr, I lied to him. He didn't look at my ID. He asked me. And somebody had said that the rockers knew they weren't IDing. They might not have been IDing, but a lot of them asked how old we were. Of course, we lied because we were the women, the little vixens going up to the hotel to seduce these boys, to get them to do what we wanted our night to look like, to be with the men we wanted to be with, and just have the adventure that we were having. It was us going to them, to their territory, their playground, so to speak, the hotel bar, the gig. We were going after them. And when they would ask, like I said, I lied to Eric Carr. I told him I was 19 or 20. That is the one I will name, but like I said, we lied about it so much that they didn't know. And this is kind of, a lot of people say, well, it still goes on and it was so prevalent into the night. Not to my knowledge, and this is why. It stopped after about 1988, early 89. Because, like I said, all of us in my group had turned 18. We were of legal age at this point. And we were just coming up to the backstage of the Salt Palace, going to where the buses are parked outside the gig, meeting up with some friends of ours in the band. And there was a couple other girls that we knew were like 16, 15 years old, trying to play the band game and get a leg up on us. That didn't happen because we were great friends with the little local security guard whose job it was to either not let or let people through to the backstage area. So we were talking to a couple of roadies who were like, who came down to talk to me and my friends. They're like, the boys are on their way. They're just finishing sound check. So just let's hang here and we'll talk. They'll bring your passes out. Okay. So another roadie went over and was talking to these girls. Well, they started talking shit to us. So Richie, the roadie, came over and was like, those girls are talking shit about you. So in our effort to cock block them, I walked over to the little security guard and I said, if those girls try and go backstage, I would ID them because you know what? I don't think they're 18 and I don't want my friends to get in trouble. And then Kristen came over and Danny came over. We were talking to him about it. So he was like, okay, I'll play with you because we got along with the security guard. We didn't treat him like shit. We weren't using him. He was just this cute little old man that we adored, that was so sweet to us and didn't judge us. So we just liked the guy, and he knew it. So starting in 1988, we started this in Salt Lake City. Now, I don't know if Salt Lake City created the domino effect or if it was just kind of the tours decided to keep doing the ID thing. So when these girls tried to go backstage with another roadie, they were cock-blocked. Because the little security guard said, hey, I need to see your ID. You have to be at least 18 to get onto that bus. And from that day forward, like I said, people were IDing on the buses, off the buses, at the gigs, whether you were with the tour or with the security, local security. So I don't know if Salt Lake City created that domino effect or if it was something that was already kind of in effect. But I know in Salt Lake City, me and my friends 100% changed it. And a lot of the guys were like, that's when we figured out the girls we weren't hanging out with for the past few years, while they were legal now, they weren't while we were first hanging out with them. And we totally bamboozled them. Like I said, these guys did not know. They had no clue. No clue. So, don't be getting down on the guys, and don't be playing me and my friends as a victim. Because we weren't. If anybody was a victim, talk to the boys in the band. They were our victims. They're our friends, our lovers. We went to them looking for them what we wanted our adventures to be like. And we gave them friendship and companionship and non-judgment and love and everything that they needed out on the road when they're lonely and just wanting people to see them for who they are off stage. So, kind of step back on the perspective and don't necessarily get down on the rockers, especially for me and my friends in my generation, because I know I'm not the only 80s groupie that was with a fake ID and seducing these boys sinisterly, in a sinister manner. Just be cool and kind of open your eyes to the perspective that maybe it was the girls doing the seducing and the guys that were the actual innocent victims in all of this. And same with like Sable Starr or Lori Maddox. They went looking for those bands. They might not have had fake IDs, but nobody went to the playground and threw them in a car. Like I said, R. Kelly, he deserves what he got. Marilyn Manson, I think there's been some ill discrepancies there, absolutely. Jerry Lee Lewis got ridiculed for his 13-year-old marriage, and I don't want this kind of backlash happening to the guys that I knew, because they didn't have any clue. And by the time they found out, we were all 19, 20 years old, so we were legal. Might as well just keep hanging out. They already knew us. There was already friendships and comfort zones. So we just continued our friendships. Nobody asked. Don't ask, don't tell. And another thing that I'm going to lead on to the next thing is the antics of the 80s, because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't believe they did stuff like tub tarts and the women under the stage. Like, they think it's degrading to women. And honestly, us ladies in the 80s, no matter what, Salt Lake City, Detroit, Los Angeles, New York, we were experiencing for the first time. And this kind of ties in to when I started hanging out backstage as well at the age that I did. We were experiencing the true freedom of our sexuality for the really, really first time in the history of being a woman. So there was a lot more stepping over lines to kind of the guy side of the grass, so to speak, to see if the grass really was greener. And women were becoming more dominant in their personal lives and sexual lives and dating lives. So the women that were doing tub tarts, number one, they were ID'd, because that happened after 1988. All these women were ID'd, everybody was legal, but they were there on their own consent. So don't be mad at the guys, because us ladies, we were instigating it. We were feeling out our sexuality, and the guys were young too. We were all in our 20s and teens. Some of the guys starting out were teenagers just like we were, and we were all in our 20s and experimenting and figuring out what we liked personally and what we might not have liked, or something we would experiment with once in a while. Whatever. So the antics that happened with like Def Leppard and, the tub tarts with Metallica, or Motley Crue having big orgies or not showering, it was such an awesome time where hedonism was for everybody, not just for the boys. And you bet your ass us women took our sexual power and ran with it. We made a few touchdowns and maybe we ran a little far sometimes, but we ran with our own balls, so to speak. And people still want to vilify the men or the rockers for kind of objectifying and using the women. And all I've got to say to that is, sweetie, we were looking for notches on our bedpost too. Not every sexual encounter had to be something emotional or meaningful, or just, it could be fun. And it could be fun for women too, just like it had been for men through the ages and history. For the first time, it was okay for women to enjoy sex, to enjoy their bodies, to get up and walk away after they got off just like a man did. And it was okay to have a little Roman orgy under that stage, or in the showers, or in Vince Neil's room, which I don't know why you want to fuck Vince Neil. Ugh. That man has never been attractive. I mean, not even the outside. The inside is so muddled up and just nasty that, ew. So, there's still a lot, and it's a lot of women saying, well, I think that the age of the men and the men were to blame. You're really the victim. You don't see that. It's like, no, I see quite clearly, in no way, shape, or form, whether I was with my fake ID or whether I was under Def Leppard stage being wild with Rick Savage. That was all my choice. Nobody dragged me under there. Nobody bribed me. Nobody forced me. Nobody did anything except said, hey, what's up, girl? And I went, huh, what you got for me today? So, kind of open your minds to a different perspective. And I'm filming this on International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day to all the wonderful women's, Kathy, Christina, Tamara, everybody that I love so much, Jen, Nicole. Thank all the women that come on here, Kim, Karen, Pat, everybody. Happy Women's Day. So, and especially appreciate this because, like I said, the 80s was the first real time women were getting paid as much as men. They were moving up the corporate ladder. So many doors open for us in our lives. We just were like kids in a candy store. And when it came to rockers and my sex life, and many women in the 80s living that same rock and roll lifestyle, they were kids in the candy store too. We were dipping our hands into whatever we could. And at any age we could, because like I said, we were coming into a strength in our being. And I just happened to hit my stride earlier than most girls do, because I decided if I was going to be sexually adventurous, I'm not going to be sexually adventurous with people from my high school. I'm go big or go home, right? And plus, because rock and roll is just my natural home, these are the people that I trust, that I find the most respect and chivalry, believe it or not, that I find the most honorable and most loyal of friends. So that's what kept me coming back, not the wild, crazy sex, drugs, and rock and roll and ego bullshit of it all. It was because I felt safe. Even as someone with a fake ID, I was safe. Even when I was being wild and having a threesome with a couple of the guys from, what was that band? Slam and Gladys, band out of LA. I felt safe. When I was lying to my mom and saying, hey, I'm going camping with Kristen, and Kristen was saying the same thing, that she was going camping with me, but yet we were in Denver or Seattle with whatever band, I felt safe. I knew I was going to get home okay. And I felt safe to express my sexuality without being slut-shamed, as we call it today. Because, in high school, if you are wild like that with the football team, oh, you are so the school slut. And I was a school slut without sleeping with anybody from the school. So, kind of open up your eyes to see what we were really doing in the 80s as women, even as a girl in high school. People who go on to the U.S. ski team or snowboard, go to the Olympics, they start at 12. They start at 13, 14, 15 and work their way up. I mean, you can go to the Olympics at 16. If you can handle that kind of responsibility, understand that the choices that I made, I could handle the responsibility of my sex life at the ages I was. And with the men that I was dating at the time and still know. So, kind of open up to what we were really experiencing in the 80s for the first time in the history of women. And don't be so hard on the guys, because they didn't know. They're my victims. So there you guys go. There's kind of a little approach to how, it was being a groupie at that time and approaching my age and defending my boys because, like I said, no, don't be mad at them. If you guys figure out which ones I was with under the age of 18, don't be mad. They didn't know. All they saw was an ID that said I was 22 or older, as the years went by. So when they found out, they were all just as stupefied as anybody else and kind of worried for a minute. But then, yeah, one of the tour managers was like, "Well, you're all legal age now, right?" "Yeah, we are." Okay. Everything was dropped. So there you guys go. There's my little insight into the age and a little bit look into the debauchery and the hedonism that we did have in rock and roll in the 80s. But it wasn't always rock and roll hedonism. It was more a family and a comfort. Sometimes, yeah, we got bored, we got wild. We did crazy things, but that was probably 10% of the time. And like I said, it filtered out because of the whole IDing thing that started in 1988 to 89. So it's not something that went on for a really long time, and it does not go on anymore. There's not one rocker I know that would even think about putting themselves in any type of jeopardy. So there you guys go. Hope you understand it. Hope you kind of open your minds to the fact that it's not always the older man that goes out of his way to have a relationship like that, because that is wrong. 100% disgusting and wrong. But our relationships were not that, because it was something that was so above that, because like I said, they thought we were of age, 22, 21 years old. So we were able to have relationships that were real, emotionally, mentally, physically, that were a lot more comfortable and consenting between two human beings. So there you guys go. Hope you get a little insight into everything. Like I said before, I know I kind of repeat myself, but there you guys go. We will see you on Sunday for a little more cocktails and rocktails. But don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. For those of you who are just haunting me, hit that subscribe, because I'm going to do a lot of cool things once I hit the 1,000 mark. Can't do that without you, so come and join us. All right. Hit the share button. Let's spread me like I spread my legs in the 80s. And hit my bells. Like I said, I'll see you on Sunday for some cocktails and rocktails. Cheers, big ears.